Far on the outskirts of the jungle, a young dragon named Kaida stretched her wings as the first light of dawn filtered through the thick canopy above. She was no ordinary dragon. Her scales shimmered with hues of emerald green, blending perfectly with the jungle. Kaida had lived her entire life in the safety of her clan's territory, but she longed for adventure beyond the familiar. The jungle was vast, and her curiosity about the edge, the place where dragons from all across the world gathered once a generation, had grown with every story she heard. Kaida's elder, Seraphon, had often warned her about the dangers of the edge. "It is not a place for the young or the weak-hearted," he would say, his eyes clouded with the weight of age. "Only the strongest survive the challenges there, and the jungle beyond our borders is filled with dangers unknown even to us." Despite the warnings, Kaida's spirit could not be quelled. She wanted to prove herself, to show that she was ready to be more than just a young dragon, one who followed the rules and never dared to explore. Her heart raced as she gazed towards the horizon, imagining the unknown wonders that lay beyond. One morning, the jungle stirred with news that spread through the trees like wildfire. A mysterious presence had been felt near the edge, one that disturbed the natural order of the jungle. Creatures were fleeing, plants were withering, and the skies darkened unnaturally. Some said it was a sign of a great danger coming from beyond, while others believed it was a test, one that the dragons must face if they were to protect their home. Kaida saw this as her chance. Without hesitation, she made the decision to leave her clan and embark on a journey to the edge. She wanted to be part of whatever was coming, to stand up for her kind, and prove that she was ready for the challenges ahead. As Kaida flew through the jungle, weaving between ancient trees and over misty rivers, she felt a strange sense of excitement. The further she flew from her home, the more alive the jungle seemed. She encountered creatures she had only heard of in stories: majestic panthers, talking parrots, and even a wise old tortoise who had seen countless generations of dragons come and go. But as she neared the edge, the jungle began to change. The air grew thick with tension, and the once vibrant trees seemed to droop, as if they were suffocating under an invisible weight. Kaida's heart beat faster as she landed at the base of a massive cliff that marked the boundary of the edge. There, she met a dragon named Draven, whose dark scales seemed to absorb the light around him. Draven was an older, battle-hardened dragon who had seen more of the world than Kaida could imagine. He had once been a guardian of the edge but had retired to the inner jungle after losing many of his comrades in a fierce battle against invaders from the outside world. "You're too young to be here," Draven growled, his golden eyes narrowing as he inspected Kaida. "The edge is not a place for dragons seeking glory. It's a place for those willing to sacrifice everything for the jungle." Kaida lifted her head, refusing to be intimidated. "I came because something is threatening the jungle, and I want to help stop it." Draven snorted, a puff of smoke escaping his nostrils. "Do you even know what's out there? The jungle beyond the edge is not like our home. It's wild, untamed, and full of creatures that would tear you apart without a second thought." Kaida met his gaze steadily. "Then I'll learn to survive, just like every dragon before me." Draven studied her for a moment before giving a reluctant nod. "Very well, but remember, courage without wisdom is nothing more than recklessness. You must learn the ways of the edge if you want to survive." With that, Draven turned and led Kaida through a hidden path that wound up the cliffside and into a world she had only imagined in her wildest dreams. The edge was unlike anything Kaida had ever seen. The landscape was harsh, with jagged cliffs and deep ravines cutting through the earth. The trees were gnarled and twisted, their roots digging deep into the ground, as if holding on for dear life. And above it all, the sky was a tumultuous sea of clouds, constantly shifting and swirling as if in a state of perpetual unrest. But it wasn't just the landscape that was different. The air itself seemed charged with energy, humming with an ancient power that Kaida could feel in her bones. Every step she took felt like it was being watched. Every movement seemed to echo in the stillness. Draven led her to a gathering of dragons at the center of the edge. There were dragons of every shape and size, some with gleaming scales like polished metal, others with wings that stretched wide enough to block out the sun. These were the dragons of legend, the ones who had faced countless battles and emerged victorious. At the head of the gathering was Zareth, an enormous dragon with obsidian black scales and eyes that burned like molten lava. He was the leader of the Edge, a dragon of unmatched power and wisdom. Zareth wasted no time in addressing the group. "A great disturbance has come to the jungle," Zareth said, his voice rumbling like thunder. "The balance we have maintained for centuries is being threatened by an ancient force, a force that seeks to destroy everything we have fought to protect." Kaida listened intently as Zareth spoke of the Void Serpent, a creature of pure darkness that had been imprisoned at the heart of the jungle for eons. The Void Serpent had once sought to consume the jungle, draining it of its life force and leaving nothing but desolation in its wake. It had been defeated long ago by the dragons of the Edge, but now it was stirring once more, its prison weakening with each passing day. "The Void Serpent feeds on fear and chaos," Zareth continued. "If it breaks free, the jungle will fall into darkness, and not even the dragons will be able to stop it." The dragons murmured among themselves, their eyes filled with concern. They knew the stories of the Void Serpent, and none of them wanted to face such a powerful foe again. But Zareth was not finished. "There is only one way to stop the Void Serpent before it fully awakens. We must unite and perform the ancient ritual of the Soul Flame, a ceremony that draws upon the combined strength of all dragons to banish the serpent back into its prison." For Kaida, the challenge was not just about fighting the Void Serpent, but about conquering her own fears and insecurities. Draven had warned her that the jungle beyond the Edge would test her in ways she couldn't predict. And now she realized that those tests were just as much internal as they were external. As Kaida trained with the other dragons, she struggled to keep up. Her wings ached from long flights, her claws were worn from climbing the treacherous cliffs, and her heart felt heavy with doubt. Could she really stand beside these powerful dragons and make a difference? Draven, ever watchful, noticed her struggle. "The jungle doesn't reward strength alone," he said one evening as they rested by a fire. "It's about understanding the balance, knowing when to fight and when to step back." Kaida nodded, but her doubts lingered. She had always believed that bravery meant charging forward, but now she was learning that sometimes it was about patience, observation, and trusting in herself. As the day of the Soul Flame ritual drew closer, the jungle itself seemed to pulse with tension. Strange creatures roamed closer to the Edge, and the skies grew darker. Finally, the time came for the dragons to gather at the heart of the jungle, where the Void Serpent lay imprisoned. The ceremony began, with each dragon contributing their energy to the Soul Flame, a glowing orb of light that hovered above the ground. But as the ritual neared completion, the ground shook, and the air was filled with a deafening roar. The Void Serpent had awoken. It erupted from the ground, a massive, shadowy creature with eyes like glowing embers. Its body was serpentine, twisting and coiling as it lunged toward the dragons. The Soul Flame flickered, struggling to hold back the serpent's dark energy. Kaida's heart raced as the dragons launched into battle, their fire breath scorching the serpent's shadowy form. But the Void Serpent was relentless, its tendrils of darkness wrapping around the dragons and sapping their strength.